Welcome back to the Empowered Homeowner, where we are nailing homeownership with humor and heart. I am your host, Beth Allen, DIY expert, educator, and contractor. Today, we are talking trash, folks. And no, I'm not gossiping about the latest fool that's going to give bad press to the Eagles. They ought to know better than to mess with us Philly fans. But we're talking about the trash that you put into the garbage disposer. And we're going to talk about what you shouldn't be putting into the disposer. So let's be clear. Is it called a garbage disposer or a garbage disposal? Well, actually, either word is correct. I think it depends on where you live in the country. The disposal is kind of an object and the disposer is more of a task. But in Canada, I found this so fascinating. It's called, get this, the garburator. That just made me crack up. So you can call it the garburator if you want. And you can put a little Canadian accent on it. But the first garbage disposer was patented in the late 1930s by a gentleman who went on to start a company called Incinerator. And if you have a garbage disposer, you likely have seen that word more than a few times in the bottom of your kitchen sink. So Incinerator is the most common brand that you will see when it comes to chopping up this stuff in your sink. Now, I have to tell you a story about the disposer that really burned me up. It burned me up faster than the disposer motor trying to chop a chicken bone, which, of course, we should never put in our disposers. I follow this local Facebook group, and one of the women posted this story. And honestly, it made me angry, but it also broke my heart. So this woman posted that she had a leak under the sink in her kitchen, and she called a plumber in, and he came in, fiddled under her sink, and he replaced the J-trap. Okay, that's the J-shaped drain that carries our wastewater away. There was a leak. He said he repaired that. Then he says to her, now, this is, I guess, hearsay because this is her story posted. It was anonymous, so I don't know who she is, and I don't know who the service provider was. But in her story, she said, he prompted her and said, your garbage disposer is quite old. Why don't I replace it for you while I'm here? Well, red flags should have gone off because a garbage disposer doesn't need to be replaced unless it is dead electronically or it is rusted out and leaking from rust. So it can have a minor leak that needs to be adjusted and it can still be used, or it can have the whole bottom rust out. But anyway, she didn't know enough to ask more questions and to challenge him. So she consented. About an hour later, he handed her a bill for $1,400. $1,400. He was there for an hour and a half. Okay, folks, I have to be clear. I totally value any contractor for their years of expertise, their skill set, their understanding, their tools in the truck, all of that. Yes, we need to value all of our tradespeople, okay? I am one of them, so I appreciate that. But this was a scam. This woman should not have been charged $1,400 for a garbage disposer that costs about $140. Literally, you could walk into the home center today and it's list priced at $139. So this woman was taken and she knew it. And she was posting, asking for the name of a new plumber because as this man left her house, he said to her, you still have another leak from the underside of your faucets. And I can come back tomorrow and replace that for $850. This man was just trying to rack up and upsell whatever he could out of this homeowner who was maybe naive, didn't understand, had never been taught. That's why I'm here, trying to empower homeowners to be able to solve these problems, ask the right questions, because you should not be taken advantage of in that way. So here's the I guess the short story on that garbage disposer. It is designed to last 10 to 12 years. My last disposer was 22 years old before it rusted out. If you care for this device, it will last you many years. So I'm going to talk to you about how to make it last, how to use it properly so that you don't have to be paying somebody to replace it long before it's due. Now, here's a few facts. 40% of American homes have a garbage disposer. I thought that was pretty low, actually. I would have expected it to be more. But you have to take into consideration that there's a lot of municipalities that don't use them because all of the stuff that we put in our disposer ends up at the water treatment facility, and it has to be screened and sieved and sorted through. So those solids can be hard to manage. But we're looking at 40%. It was not legal in New York until the 1970s. Again, they have old pipes and the old water treatment sewer systems that they couldn't handle the solids. It's very rare that you find any garbage disposers in Europe for the same reason. Old plumbing systems, and they don't want to risk clogs further down the lines with all of the waste material. And then environmentally, there are people that object to using the disposer because of the added burden on the water treatment processing and of the overgrowth of bacteria and other organic stuff that can go on at the treatment facility. So if you don't have one, you have to decide, do you have the structure, the infrastructure in your house, in your sewer, in your community to handle one? Maybe that's why your home and your neighborhood doesn't have one. Now, if we're talking about water, I do want to say, let's talk about those great showers. Replacing your shower head is a very doable DIY project, and I am so glad to have this rain shower head that I've added to my morning routine. Crafted with premium chrome, this rain shower head is not only a touch of elegance to your bathroom, it delivers durability and a stunning shine. I really just love the hammerhead dual shower head. With the 72-inch hose, it is perfect to be able to wash you, the dog, and clean the shower itself. So make sure you check them out at theshowerheadstore.com. One of the things you need to know about your garbage disposer is a couple basic things. One is, how is it electrified? How is the electricity set up under your sink? A lot of people don't take time to kind of peek under the sink or in the closets and understand how your house works, and it's really important. So how is it wired? Do you have a hardwired garbage disposer? And what that means is there a plastic tube that comes from the bottom of the disposer that disappears into the wall? That is hardwired. Or do you have a plug coming off your garbage disposer that plugs into an outlet? That is what we call a GFI-enabled plug. It's really important to know this because when it malfunctions, it helps you problem solve. The other thing you need to understand, and so many folks don't get this, as you're trying to put 10 pounds of potato peels into your disposer, you need to know that the little exit, the outlet for your wastewater and your chopped up materials is only the size of 2 fingers. It is literally the size of 2 fingers. And you're trying to get all the potato peels and the carrot shreds, all of that through that opening into your drain, which has an elbow turn as soon as it exits the garbage disposer. No wonder things jam. So it's important to understand you need things to go through the disposer in small quantities. You can't fill that disposer to the brim and try to run it. You want to fill it a little bit, run it, put some more stuff in it, run it again. So you're not overwhelming it. And then let's talk about that dishwasher. Have you ever taken dishes out of the dishwasher and they're skanky? They've got something stuck to them and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do with all these flecks? Maybe I need new detergent. Maybe I need a new dishwasher. Well, oftentimes the reason that debris collects on your dishes is because you never ran the garbage disposer before you ran the dishwasher. In most setups, talking 90% of dishwashers, there is a hose that runs from the dishwasher to the garbage disposer for the water to drain. So the water goes through the garbage disposer to the sewer. If you have gunk in your disposer and the water can't move down the drain line towards the sewer, it backs up. We've all had that happen where the water fills our kitchen sink and now it's really skanky, dirty water in the kitchen sink. Well, if it starts to fill the sink, it can also backwash into your dishwasher. And now you have more debris, dirty debris, collecting on the dishes. So every time you run your dishwasher, you want to run the garbage disposer first and make sure that it is clear of any gunk. You will be happy to have cleaner dishes. Now, I want to talk about the dinner cleanup. The garbage disposer was designed to help with dinner cleanup. It was not meant for all of our food scraps. You know, when you're chopping up chicken and the potato peels and your carrot peels, we might have grown up with that little bowl on the side of the sink with the little plastic bag. That's how I grew up. Where there was no dishwasher or no garbage disposer. We had our little compost bowl beside the sink. And every day, at the end of the day, we would take it and we'd throw it into the big trash can. Well, that was really a pain and it would smell. So that's part of why we love our garbage disposers. We can clean up from the meals and get rid of that waste. If you try to put all of your food prep scraps into here, you're asking too much of it. And again, that reminder, it all goes to the water treatment facility. So it ends up costing us more as a township or a municipality to sift and sieve and clean. So the garbage disposer is for your after dinner cleanup. So what do you do when you're cleaning up and you flip that wall switch and there's a jam? The jam means you hear the motor running, but the blades aren't spinning. And you can tell that it's just something is trapped inside. So what is trapped? Could it be a water bottle cap? Could it be a spoon that's gotten all the way down and you can't see it? Could it be a bone or something else? What's our first instinct, right? We're going to peek in there. And how many of us have taken our hands and just dived right in there and tried to see what's in? Yes, I admit I have put my hand down the garbage disposer when it's turned off, obviously, but that's a bad idea. So don't put your hand into the garbage disposer. You need to use a pair of tongs and see if you can grab what is in there. Maybe you can quickly grab it and it's not really wedged in. But I want you to think about the carnival when you were a kid. And we went on the Tilt-A-Whirl. And on the Tilt-A-Whirl ride, we had that bucket we sat in that was on a pivot so it would spin. Well, just the same concept is in the bottom of your disposer. There are two blades that are on two pivots, and they spin towards each other, and then something can get stuck between them. And when something is stuck between them, you need to be able to back those blades up so that you can open up what is lodged. That is where your disposer wrench comes into play. The disposer wrench is an Allen wrench, but it is perfectly sized for the disposer. This product is like $3 at the home center. If you don't have one, treat yourself. It'll spare you from calling the plumber. So it's $3 well spent. The other hack that I want to share is that this can get really lost in your junk drawer with all of your other stuff. I take this and I have some painter's tape and I tape it to the inside of my sink cabinet on the wall so that everybody in the house knows where the disposer wrench is. It's right next to it, hanging on the wall. Now, this little tool, you want to reach to the underside of the disposer. There is a protrusion on the underside here, and you don't have to look for it. You can feel it, because you might only have maybe 8 or 10 inches from the bottom of your disposer to the bottom of your sink cabinet. So you really can't get under there and look. But you're going to take that disposer wrench, you're going to put it in that hole, and I want you to listen to what it sounds like when the blades rotate. You can hear it. That allows you to move the blades forwards and backwards, so it'll dislodge whatever is stuck, so that you're not trying to use a broom handle. I always hear that. People say, oh, stick a broom handle. Well, that's this big clunky thing. How is that going to have any accuracy or skill at loosening something? Use tongs. It's much more effective. But when you unjam that allows you to then retrieve what you loosened, and then you can attempt to run your disposer again. Here's a big question. Do you use hot water or cold water when you run the disposer? Many people think, oh, I want to use hot water to melt the grease. Well, the plumbing industry will tell you you want to be using cold water. If you are running hot water, you are melting that grease for sure, and then it is coating your pipes. Think of cholesterol in your arteries. We don't want the cholesterol to coat the arteries because what happens? The platelets can stick. You can hear my registered nurse, mind coming out here. But that's what happens. So if you've melted the grease, it's in the tube of your pipe, and now stuff is sticking. You're going to have more clogs. Ideally, cold water so that grease will ball up, okay, and congeal and roll down the pipes out to the sewer. So cold water will also help cool the motor as you're running the disposer and give it more life. So always use cold water. And of course, this is the kind of thing we need to teach our kids. You need the water on before the disposer goes on. You turn the disposer off and then the water. So the water has to be the bookends of every time you run that disposer so you don't run it dry. We have that other issue with our disposer that happens, and that is we've lost power. You flip the wall switch and nothing happens, and there's a little bit of panic comes over us. Oh no, it's not running. So what do? We flip that switch 6 more times, right? Because it's miraculously going to wake up, but it's not. We have to figure out, why has this disposer lost power? So there's a few reasons. I said before, you need to understand the one of 2 ways that it is electrified. Is it hardwired or is it plugged in? If your unit is hardwired, meaning that wire disappears into the wall and there's no plug, you will then need to check the GFIs in your kitchen. The GFIs are those special outlets with the test and reset buttons. By building code, GFIs are required in any room that has water and electricity. So kitchens, bathrooms, basements, utility rooms, garages, perhaps. You need to go check the GFIs because your garbage disposer could be hardwired and tied into a GFI in another spot. Could be along the counters. It could be in a room next door. It could be in a bathroom up above. But you want to reset your GFIs to test your garbage disposer and get it woken up again. Now, the other thing you need to test on your garbage disposer is the reset button itself. All garbage disposers have a reset button on the bottom. It is about 2 inches from the center hole, and it's a small red button, and you'll hold it for, 7 to 10 seconds. There is a small circuit breaker built in. So you can wake this up because maybe you did try to run too many potato peels. It got overheated and it shut down. So don't pay the plumber to push your buttons. That's what your partner's for, okay? And they'll do it for free all day long if you let them. So pay yourself by learning how to do these things. Now, if you have a garbage disposer that's plugged in, you need to check that outlet that's under the sink. Is the disposer fully plugged in? And did that GFI that's under the sink trip as well? These are simple problem solving, troubleshooting steps before you call a pro. Now, if this little guy's not working and you have reset it, you have reset the GFIs that it is connected to, and you have gone to the circuit breaker box itself, and you've got nothing, then you can call your plumber and say, I've done these steps. I'm pretty sure that the disposer is dead. I think it's time for a new one. But here's the deal. I don't want you to be in the same situation that the other lady was in. I want you to ask the questions. How much will you charge me for a new disposer? How much will the labor be? Can I go buy the disposer and have it on hand? And then you save him the trip. You save that 20% upcharge because he's taking time to go and get it. There's little ways that you can save money and be a little more empowered in this process. Buy the unit yourself. But what are the questions to ask when you need to buy a new disposer? Well, it comes down to horsepower primarily. Horsepower and plug. So for horsepower, many of them are a third to half horsepower. There is 3/4, but that's really, I would think, more of a kitchen, like commercial kitchen grade. For average homeowners, a third or half horsepower is plenty. I'm a big cook. Over the years, I've lots of cooking, lots of food prep. I have had a third horsepower, and it's been fine. So when you do buy that new disposer, you want to save the UPC on the box. You cut out the side of the box that has the barcode, that has the brand, the name, and the model number. And you're going to save that with your receipt. I do this on all of my plumbing fixtures, or really anything that I add to my home, because if there's ever a warranty issue, you've got the information to act on your warranty. You really want to make sure you are being as smart a consumer as possible. So you've got that. The other thing you want to consider in replacing that garbage disposer is adding a water alarm to your under cabinet. I love water alarms. People think I'm nuts. I have 8 of them in my house. That's a whole nother episode. But add a water alarm under your disposer. So if there's a leak, you know it and you can avoid a problem. So talking about remodeling a kitchen, let's give a shout out to our friends at LBK Design. With LBK Design, you not only get 10 years of experience, you get one expert team from start to finish. With their streamlined process, your projects get done 34% faster, saving you money and time. You're involved in every step of the way. They use easy-to-use tools like a remodeling app, which is very cool. They keep you in the loop for all the updates on your project. And they will review the selections, monitor the costs, and help you stay updated with photos along the way. You can transform your space stress-free with LBK. So call or visit lbkdesignbuild.com. If you dream it, you build it, you will love it. They are a great group of people. So let's talk about the yays and nays of the disposer. So many people end up in a jam, pun intended, over the stuff that they stuff in the disposer. And here is the do and don't list. No to eggshells. You're thinking, eggshells? What's the big deal? Now, if you're doing 2 eggs, not a big deal. But if you are doing 12, 15, 24 eggs on Christmas morning for a whole crew, throw them in the compost. They are slimy and sticky, and they can easily clog. Avoid the fibrous foods. That is banana peels, celery, anything that is stringy. The meat trimmings. You know, when we're cutting off the beef and the chicken scraps, those get wrapped around the blades at the base of the disposer. Don't do that. Potato peels. Number one offender of the disposer is the potato peel. And the plumber loves to charge that extra fee on the holidays when you have jammed them on Thanksgiving morning. So no potato peels. And lastly, those coffee grounds. Really put them in the trash. They are not meant. They swell and they clog very easily. Now, 2 things you do want to put in the disposer, and that is ice cubes. Add ice cubes once a week. Throw a handful of ice cubes in. They will sharpen the blades and they help cool the motor as they are sharpening. Now, lemons. Now, you could use limes, but I like lemons. You want to cut off the end of the lemons, get rid of that hard end, and then take that middle section, chop it up into 5 or 6 pieces, and drop it in and pulverize that. That will give you a nice disinfectant and freshen that whole disposer up. It's cheap. It's non-toxic. Like, why wouldn't you just take a moment to do this at the end of your cleanup? Super easy. Now, I do have one other thing that should not go in the disposer that I forgot to tell you about, and that is drain cleaner. A lot of folks will try to take drain cleaner and put it into the disposer to eat up at whatever's clogged in there. That is dangerous because all the drain cleaners have lye in them, and they are very caustic, and they can cause second-degree burns. So you don't want to be putting them in your disposer. What you can put in is baking soda and vinegar. Now, it won't eat massive clogs, but it does help get rid of some of the slime and the residue. Now, let's talk about if you want to DIY this replacement on your own. It is DIY doable. I have done several of them. When it comes to that, you want to have a buddy. It can be a little heavy, and you want to elevate it on a box. As you're trying to loosen that disposer from the underside of the sink bowl and it comes down, it's heavy, and you don't want to drop it. So get a cardboard box that just fits a little bit under it so that as you loosen it, it kind of catches the weight. And reaching in there and turning and twisting that disposer can be some of the bigger challenges to doing this by yourself. Again, always great to have a buddy. Remember, when you're changing that disposer, you may want to just change the trap that comes off of it because it might have been a while and it's just got some skunk, build up in there, and you want a fresh pipe. When you go to buy piping, drain pipes for your kitchen, those are the 1.5 inch pipes. We have 1 1/4 for bathrooms and 1.5 for kitchens. So make sure you buy the proper one. And lastly, there's this important fact of, do you need a building permit? Some municipalities require a permit to change a garbage disposer. Who knew? Now, that's the scoop on the garbage disposer. Thanks for tuning in to the Empowered Homeowner. I know that you can handle this. It will last you a long time, and you can have years of carefree, clog-free shopping. When it comes to DIY around your house, whether you do hire a pro for something like this or not, remember that when it comes to your home and your DIY projects and in life in general, doing it yourself doesn't mean doing it alone. Thank you much, and we'll see you next time.